Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is a true, terrifying Dogman encounter, and it's a subscriber submitted encounter from a great friend of mine, Alicia. And I can't thank Alicia for being brave enough to come forward and share this story with myself. I have now found out I am the third person to ever hear this story, and now she's given us all the opportunity to hear the story on this channel. So thank you very, very much, Alicia, for being brave enough and honest enough to come forward and tell me of this horrific ordeal of yours. Also, guys, I'd just like to thank everybody in the last week that has, liked, shared, commented on all the videos that I've put out. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience, and I really can't thank you enough. It's literally our 8th week on YouTube, and already we are nearing 500 subscribers. I cannot believe it. So thank you guys very, very much. I won't rattle on any more, people. Let's get straight into tonight's Dogman encounter. Hi, DMT. To address my experience, I'm not sure I'm any good at translating these thoughts to paper, but I'll give you the weird ending, or basically the scariest part. You see, my grandma lived 2 towns over from where I live now, and I was at her house with my cousin for the whole week. She had a working farm, so the whole family would pitch in. Also, she lived in a trailer home. DMT, there was strange stuff going on 3 days leading up to the sighting. So, on the 3rd night, my grandma was in her room sleeping, and my cousin and I were on a pull-out couch in the living room. We kept hearing heavy breathing, but my grandma lived in the middle of the woods with one dirt road leading out and one in, so noises are common. So we just tried to ignore this. Then the clicking of nails on the wooden deck. I checked on my grandma's dog, and she was under the pull-out looking at me like, "Hide, you idiot." Then there were these banging noises that just erupted out of nowhere. I knew what it was, and it's not an uncommon sound. You see, it was crab apples falling from the tree that stood over the trailer we was in. But this time, it was like 50 apples hitting the roof at once. This is odd, as I'm sure you can imagine. They'd usually only fall here and there, and only one at a time. So I, because my cousin was a crybaby, moved the blinds just a little, and I saw what I can't believe: a huge furry creature. We don't have bears in our area, nor do we have anything really even close to that size here. So I just stood there, too terrified to move. It was grabbing a branch and shaking the tree when it moved over to pick up an apple. Now, I'm not 100% sure it was an apple, but it picked up something. I saw the thing stand up on its hind legs and take a few steps. It wasn't wobbling like dogs do when they stand on their back legs. I also noticed that the legs were bent backwards, just like a dog's. Luckily, it was dark in a living room where we were standing. There was a little light from the moon. Of course, a number 1 cliche, it was a full moon, and a huge light that was on the barn. It wasn't super bright, but it was bright enough to see this creature. Of course, my cousin looks and starts breathing really heavy, and says that we need to get Grandma. First off, I'm sure she heard the crab apples hit the roof. You see, it was a tin roof, so it was super loud, and my grandma was literally only 4'9" tall and maybe 90 pounds. There's not much I think she could do to protect us. With all the noise, she, my cousin, was making these Dogman's ears twitch, and it froze and suddenly turned its head so fast I wanted to run, scream, pee my pants and vomit all at the same time. It looked right at me, right into my eyes. The eyes were a yellowish red, and it started to turn its shoulders towards the way its head was facing and started to growl a very low and guttural, almost moaning sound. I swear, right then, time pretty much stopped. I had no effing idea what I was looking at or how to react. Then a car suddenly visible coming down the dirt road. It stopped and quickly, and I mean quickly, turned its head and body towards the deck railing, then dropped to all fours and jumped over the railing and was gone. I have no idea how long this all lasted. It seemed like a lifetime. The car coming up was my uncle. He was just stopping by to check on us on his way home from the Ford plant he worked at. When he pulled up and parked, I quickly leaned out the door a little to tell him to run into the house, and I just started bawling, which did in turn make him run, because he thought my grandma had died or was hurt. You see, she was 73 at the time. I was 13 and Amy, my cousin, was 14. My grandma had made her way to the living room by now and was very calmly asking what was wrong. I remember just staring off into space, not sure if I should tell them what I'd seen or not. My cousin would have backed me up, but she was way more freaked out than me, mainly because that's just how she is. Any little thing was a tragedy to her. She glimpsed it for maybe 5 seconds, but she didn't have the pleasure of having it stare into her soul. I chose to just let go of every emotion at that moment that I was feeling and holding back, because I was hoping they would think I was hurt or possibly sick and take me away from there. As luck would have it, it worked, but I demanded that he pull the truck right up to the deck and help my grandma. She wasn't really slow, but in my mind, anything but running full speed was too slow. We all got into the truck and I realised the dog was still in the trailer. I demanded we take the dog and they agreed, which made me start to think something was up. I knew all the animals were locked up in the barn and they had this awful mean ass bull that I honestly think would have kicked this thing's ass if it bothered the barn at all. So we were on our way to the hospital and my grandma and uncle were giving each other these looks that I started noticing. I wanted to say something, but I also just wanted as many miles between me and that thing as possible. We rode the rest of the way in complete silence, other than that weird sound someone makes when they are trying to stop crying. That almost hiccup sound. Right before the hospital is a park with a playground and equipment and sandboxes. Suddenly, my uncle did a quick turn into the park's parking lot. Amy and I were in those ridiculous extended cab seats that face each other with the dog on the floor between us. He put the truck in park and they both turned around. My grandma had streaks of dried tears on her face, which instantly made me cry again. My grandma and I were very close, and I had never seen her crying, so this hit me like a ton of bricks. I asked her, what the hell is going on? I never swore in front of my grandma, not even when I was in my 20s, and my grandma said, what really happened back there? So I just unloaded. When she looked at me in the eyes, I felt like she was giving me permission to just say everything I was afraid to. When I was done, my uncle started rubbing the top of his nose between his eyes and then yelled out, God damn it! And Grandma started crying again and said, I told you I was smelling it. You see, 3 days prior to all of this, weird things were occurring. The dog was staying right next to my grandma all of the time, which really wasn't normal for Mitzi. She would always, and I mean always, be running around in the fields chasing bugs and whatnot. There was a wretched smell of urine all over, it seemed. And that bull was pissed off. just on edge, would charge at anything. It was not normal. We did not go back there. We drove over to my house a few towns over. There were no woods or fields around for miles, which was a plus. My uncle that lived next to my grandma, and when I say next to, it's the country version next to, moved my grandma into his house and got the neighbours and family to come over and start digging and chopping and all that stuff, because the pasture and stuff had to be moved and everything was immediately rearranged. They put out bars on the windows and got 2 big dogs, not necessarily to attack anything, but just to warn of anything around. They refused to be scared away. And after I saw my grandma cry, I started getting angry. I continued to go to my grandma's for 5, maybe 6 more years when they needed help. I was never, ever the same, and I carried a shotgun at all times. I don't know really if it would have done anything, but it made me feel so much better. I've been shooting guns for years, and I wasn't a teenager just handed a gun with no idea how to use it. I never saw it or smelled it ever again. I left for college in 1999 and went to California and really did enjoy it. It made me feel more comfortable when I was alone, knowing I was in the middle of a big city with no woods. I worried terribly about my grandma, but she was a tough old cookie and incredibly stubborn. We were never told the story of why my grandma said, "I told you I smelled it again." I'm assuming there was another encounter. My uncle did say once it scared the kids and then it was over. I'm assuming they didn't know what they had seen or didn't believe it. My uncle and grandma were good, hard-working farmers. They weren't going to be scared off their land. After all that happened, I personally have never mentally been the same. You see, unless you have an experience like this, you will never understand how much it rattles you. Things you were told or things you believed in were now in question. So, DMT, that's it. And the reason I mentioned so many times that my grandma lived in a trailer is because about 6 weeks after it happened, we were getting some of grandma's stuff, and I walked out to the door and noticed the door frame. The trailer was 2 or 3 inches thick. At least it seemed that way. It was a 70s trailer. That is what separated myself from this thing. 3 inches. And headway I had made to get over this was gone in an instant. Fast forward 20 years and it still affects my life. I don't think it follows me around, and I don't think it has my scent, nothing like that. I've never seen it again and never want to. But I refuse to camp in a tent. I get inside the house before dark sets in. I always close the curtains and blinds, and I have 2 big Doberman pincers that, by nature, patrol our yard, and they are fiercely defensive of myself and kids. I no longer think about it every day like I used to. I sometimes hear these supposed encounters with the dogmen, and the ones I think are made up are the ones where people just see it and then that's it. No after effect, no mental stress. Trust me, I don't care who you are. When you witness something like this, it completely flips your world upside down. I honestly don't know how to explain it. But nowadays life is normal, with a few well-placed precautions. I wish I was wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong. This isn't something I enjoyed or feel special about. It was truly terrifying, and I can still sometimes see it in my mind. Wow. That's the encounter from our subscriber and friend Alicia. Thank you, Alicia. Truly terrifying experience, I'm sure. Through speaking with you, you know, it's something that I know has really stayed with you for 20+ years. Guys, in the video, Alicia has taken time to visit the site of the encounter and take pictures of the actual trailer home where this encounter took place and the general area. Her family owned 400 acres of land and only 50 acres of that was used for farming. So in hindsight, this dogman had free roam of 400 acres at least of forest land. There was a pond, so it had water source, plenty of wildlife, and hunting was not allowed on that land. So definitely a lot of mammals, large mammals, for it to feed on and sustain itself. Who knows? It could still be out there. I'm sure it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Please do let me know in the comments below. Please do like, please do share. Once again, guys, remember, be safe, not sorry.